I started giving myself adventure birthday experiences when I turned 27. Mostly, they're heart-pumping, thrill-inducing activities. For me, trying something new, wild, and potentially dangerous is exhilarating. My first daredevil feat was bungee jumping. The next year, I went skydiving. And the year after that, it was hang gliding. Contrary to what my family believes, my list doesn't include every single crazy stunt out there. For example, I didn't mind just being a spectator at the Running with the Bulls. The thought of being trampled by a 2,000-pound, horned, angry animal just wasn't my cup of tea. Now, jumping from the middle of the sky with only an elastic cord to snap me back from the brink of splat, that is my idea of pure fun. The adventure for 2008, whitewater rafting. A friend and I set off to Whitewater Adventurers in Ohiopyle, Pennsylvania to run the rapids of the Youghiogheny River. Despite the absolutely bone-chilling weather in mid-June and the always scary ways to avoid death and bodily harm safety speech, I was wholeheartedly looking forward to this adrenaline kick. Our 7-mile run would take us through Class 2, 3, and even a couple of Class 4 rapids. Allow me to help those of you who haven't been whitewater rafting yet to get a sense of how each feels. Class 2 rapids feel like the jolting surprise of walking down a flight of stairs and missing the last one. Class 3 rapids hit you like unexpected airplane turbulence that quickly drives your stomach into your throat. Class 4 rapids are like rollerblading through a minefield of gravel. Safe passage requires full concentration and quick reflexes. Raft 49! A shout echoed over the water. It was our turn to enter the first rapid. We pushed away from the safety of the shoreline and paddled toward the mouth of the beast. The first rapid was unquestionably the scariest. The water violently churned, crashed into rocks, and blasted into the air. As we approached it, thoughts of my limited swimming ability and my huge respect for all water not contained by a cement bottom crept into my mind. I faintly heard the voice of my friend cursing my existence for bringing her on this adventure. I slowly turned to look at her. Her eyes narrowed. I smiled. She did not smile back, and I was happy looks could not kill. As our raft was drawn into the current, it and my heartbeat quickly picked up speed. I tightly gripped my paddle and wedged my left foot under the inside edge of the raft and my right under the inflated middle seat. There was no turning back now. The words of our guide sparked in my mind. Keep paddling. Paddle through the rapids. Paddle aggressively. It will keep you anchored in the raft. I did just that. I began paddling as hard as I could, repeatedly slicing the water, forcefully pushing it behind me, each time repeating to myself, keep paddling, keep paddling, keep paddling. Water pounded our inflated gray raft, jostled us, and lifted us off our seats. The icy water vaulted over the side of the raft, drenched my left thigh, soaked my face, and climbed into the sleeve of my jacket. Half nervous, half, I love this, laughter erupted from my throat. The thrill of adventure pulsed through my veins as the numbing grip of everyday life began to loosen and melt away. We hit the last bump and with a final swirly push, coasted into calmer water. We cheered with excitement, happy that we had successfully conquered our first rapid. We encountered new rapids that were longer, stronger, more dangerous, and tougher to navigate than the first. They took all of our power working together to get through. My shoulders burned from the physicality of it. My hands calloused from white-knuckling my paddle. Goosebumps dotted my flesh, and my body stiffened from the odd position I was holding it in to keep me sufficiently anchored in the raft. The cold, overcast day was beautiful. We were surrounded by lush green trees that stood tall against the river's edge, their long branches seemingly ushering us on. I was in awe of the rows of mountains rising out of the earth. They looked like sentinels watching over the land. Between the rapids were stretches of calm water where we could lift our paddles and let the river gently take us downstream. During one of these restful moments, I began thinking about the safety instructions our guide told us. As I let them replay in my mind, 3 stuck out the most, and I realized how important they were to follow on the river and in life. 1. Keep paddling. Keep paddling through the rapids. Paddle aggressively. It will keep you anchored in the raft. This was definitely the most important. It kept me in the boat and it kept me safe. I had this action and mantra to keep me going, to keep me doing what I needed to do to get through safely. In life, saying these words whenever a problem or challenge seems overwhelming encourages me not to give up or get frustrated when a solution doesn't come quickly or easily. They help me stay on course, and I feel empowered, strong, focused, and determined every time I say them. 2. Don't lean away from the rocks that barely stick out of the water. In the rapids, there are rocks that just barely break the water's surface. These rocks are potentially dangerous if a rafter leans away from them. This mistake could possibly cause an imbalance in the raft, turning the rock into a springboard and flipping the raft and all of its occupants into the river. Our guide told us to stay in our seat and hold our ground to safely pass over it. The temptation to move away from these rocks is real. The time one came my way, I had to force myself to stay firmly in my seat. Happily, just like our guide said, we floated easily over it. Sadly though, I must admit, I've tried to avoid a problem or two in my life. When I saw it coming, I thought that turning away would make it go away. It doesn't. In fact, the times I did this, the false sense of security I got from a few days of quiet avoidance quickly turned into a 5-fingered slap in the face, with the problem doubled or tripled in strength. I learned that facing problems straight on is the easiest way to put them in the past, that these tough challenges are ways to learn and grow. Now, whenever I see a problem peeking over the horizon, I face it straight on, look it right between its beady eyes and say, "My name is Karen Bradford. You are a problem I must face. Prepare to be conquered." 3. If you fall out of the raft, get back in immediately. When rafters fell in the drink, our guide would lose her calm, steady demeanor and erupt into a panic. Her eyes grew wide as saucers, fingers pointed desperately to the unfortunate individual bobbing in the water, and scream, "Get him back in!" or "Get her in the raft now!" Her panic caused me to feel the same desperation, and I found myself holding my breath waiting for the rescue. She would smile and I'm sure breathe a sigh of relief when they were once again safely in the raft, and so would I. Her cause for panic is well warranted. A person can get seriously injured falling out of the raft mid-rapid. The scary factors include, but are not limited to, hitting the head or other body part on the rocks that are above and below the water's surface, breaking a leg or ankle if it gets stuck between rocks, and possibly drowning. Ugh, scary. Naturally, falling out of the raft was something I did not want to experience. And thankfully, I managed to paddle aggressively enough and anchor my feet well enough that when we were hit by swells of water or suddenly dropped off a shelf of rocks, I stayed in the raft. This nugget of wisdom, get back in the boat immediately, made me think of the many projects that I've attempted that ended in epic failure. Sometimes I was able to brush the failure off with an, "I meant to do that." Other times, I would let the defeat immobilize me with disappointment, fear, and regret for weeks or months. At those times, I didn't see what beauty there is in a failed attempt. I didn't understand that in order to succeed, sometimes failure has to happen. Failure fosters learning and growth. It encourages a shift in strategy, development of more and different ideas, leads one down paths they wouldn't have taken before, and teaches how to become better. Now, I can feel the disappointment of failure, but I don't allow myself to wallow in it. I pull myself up quickly, and I'm ready and willing to give it another go with new knowledge, a different perspective, and a fresh way of thinking. After we cruised through the last rapid, I felt triumphant and happy to have had this amazing experience. We paddled our raft to the shore, lifted it out of the water, and carried it to the awaiting trucks. I looked over at my friend. She smiled.